Thank you very much. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. My first guest tonight is truly an international star, instantly recognized the world over, and we're going to take a look at him now in his very first screen appearance. This gentleman would be the one on the right. That was from a motion picture called The Old Homestead. I also had a small part in that. The date was 1935, and that gentleman, of course, was the king of the cowboys, Mr. Roy Rogers. It's a pleasure to welcome him here. Nice to meet you, Roy. Thank you very much for being here.
For having me, and thank you for the nice welcome.
The bit of film that we just saw, the Old Homestead, what was that? The Sons of the Pioneers, or one of those?
Yes, I was the original Son of the Pioneers, organized back in the early 30s, and that was one of the first pictures we did.
Did you guys perform as a group before movies or just for movies?
No, we were on radio as a group for a long time, and we made a whole bunch of transcriptions in 1934, 35, which started the Standard Radio Transcription Company. And of course, we never made any money out of it, but the people that had the transcriptions did. And it started, we become known all over the country, and they started getting requests for pictures, and this was one of them, one of the first ones.
Do you remember who the other gentlemen were in the group that we just saw there?
Yeah, Hugh and Carl Farr, and Lloyd, Bob Nolan, and Tim Spencer. And I'm the only one left of the original 5. The other fellows are gone.
Before that, you were in another singing group. Now, did you think of yourself in those days as a cowboy, or just sort of like a Toledo lawyer?
Listen,
there?
In 1931 and 32, you didn't think yourself of anybody. You're just worrying about trying to get enough to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
It was right at the bottom of the Depression. And
what was the first group, or the one that preceded this one?
The Rocky Mountaineers, and then later on the Obaro Cowboys. We barnstormed down through New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, like to starve to death, but we eat half of the jackrabbits between here and Oklahoma.
Now, yeah, you actually did have interesting ways of getting yourself meals, didn't you?
You betcha.
What would you do?
Well, we, you mean to eat?
Yeah.
Well, I told you, rabbits. We ate rabbits.
But rabbits that you mashed with the car, or?
No.
How did you just exactly?
No, we got to Roswell, New Mexico, and it was in June, about this time of the year, in 1933. And we, out of money, didn't have a dime. And we went to this little motel and told them our story, and we were playing the theater there, the local theater, in a week or so. And we went on a local radio station, and I asked the man if he had a little 22 or something I could borrow. We like to hunt, you know. Didn't want to tell him we were hungry, so he let me have his little rifle, and we'd go out in the evening and get us a couple of jackrabbits and bring them in and fry them in our motel. And we started kidding one another over the air what we like to eat, and people started bringing us chicken, fried chicken.
Oh, that's great.
I liked lemon cream pies.
Yeah.
And one day I got a call if I would sing the Swiss yodel. They would have us 2 big, beautiful lemon meringue pies at our motel that night. Well, I sang the song as best I knew how. And that evening, sure enough, here come a young lady and her mother over with 2 of the most beautiful lemon pies. They were about that thick. And we couldn't wait for them to leave so we could inhale those things, because it was really hungry out. And the young lady that brought the pies over turned out to be my first wife, who I have 2 children by her, and she unfortunately passed away 3 days after my boy was born. This Dusty was born. Yeah. Then later on, Dale and I got married. But that's the story of our trip, except there's a lot of in between, but you don't have time to tell it.
We got plenty of time, Roy. Yeah. I'm wondering, though, if that technique would work now. If you and I suddenly said, boy, we're ever hungry, we could, people show up here with...
If you got me with you, you're going to eat.
Well, that's good to hear. We'll go away here for a commercial break. We'll be back to talk to the legendary Mr. Roy Rogers some more. Back to the show. This, of course, is Roy Rogers. When I met you earlier in the green room back there, a gentleman, I assume he's with you, he said, be sure and ask Roy about Gabby and the bear.
That was a funny story. I think it is. Gabby was like my brother and my buddy and my dad all wrapped up in one. We did 65 pictures together. So old Gabby, we were doing a picture one time, and we had this big bear, and we're supposed to be in Central Park in the picture. In New York.
Cowboys in Central Park?
Yeah, we came to New York for some reason, and I don't remember the story except this particular one, part of it. And so Gabby had to play with this bear, you know, and it was supposed to be his bear, and he said, I'm not going to mess with that bear. You know, Gabby, he was very opinionated, so when he thought something was wrong, he wouldn't do it. So the guy that owned the bear, he says, he was an Italian guy. I can't do much of an Italian dialect, but he says, this bear says, he don't hurt nobody. I raised him from a little teeny baby. He says, watch this. He says, kush papa. And the bear ran out and bit the end of his nose off. And Gabby says, see what I mean, you know? You can't argue with that. So we had to rush him to the hospital and sew his nose back on.
Oh, my.
So accidents do happen in these pictures, but that's a joke about it.
Gee. Now, let me get this straight. The owner had taught the bear to bite his nose off?
No, Gabby was supposed to do a certain thing with the bear, but he wouldn't have anything to do with it. He was scared of it.
What was Gabby like? He couldn't have been like the character he played. Nobody really was like
Gabby
that.
He was like a, well, he wore those beautiful English tweed suits, you know, and he was straight as an arrow.
He was a very dapper guy.
Yeah, very dapper guy, and he drove a long Continental four-door convertible and had a beautiful white beard. One time he decided I was going to be gone about 4 months, and he decided he's going to shave his beard off, see what he looked like without a beard. He hadn't seen himself in about 15 or 20 years, and he was telling me about it when I got back, and he said, Roy, I got that beard off, and I took one look in the mirror, and he said, you never saw such an ugly so-and-so in your life. He put his wife in the car, and they all went to the Palm Desert and stayed in the house for 6 weeks so his beard grew out. He wouldn't get out in front of the people at all.
But he was one of the all-time great characters in motion pictures.
I just loved him. He just couldn't be beat. I just loved him very much.
There's another great character from motion pictures, Ronald Reagan, who tells, I didn't mean that the way it came out, or maybe I did. Who knows? Who cares? But Ronald Reagan has a story about you and Dale that he...
Yeah, I've heard him tell that one.
Yeah. How does that go?
Well, I don't like to repeat somebody else's stories.
Well, let's bring the president out. He's backstage. No, it's a great story.
Anyway, well, he was campaigning, and he told us as a story when he was campaigning that he and his lovely wife went to this little place out in some small town and walked up on the porch. The old man was up there rocking, and he said, how do you do? I'm running for president. Says, I want to say hello to everybody. And he said, the guy says, well, who are you? And he said, well, I'll give you a hint. Says, my initials are RR. And the old man jumped up and hollered in the house and says, hey, Ma, says, come on out here and meet Roy Rogers and Dale Evans are running for president. Something like that. Excuse me, Ron.
They're running for president. That's a great story. That's wonderful. Do we have time to show the stuff now? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Okay. We have some compilation of some of your old films, and I think maybe let's just take a look. This would be the Roy Rogers, ladies and gentlemen, doing what he does best. So watch closely.
And Roy Rogers riding Trigger.
When you hear yodel, you see him riding to his gal. Can't you see the way? And
me what?
About a marriage. I want your permission to,
You want to marry my daughter?
No, the Golden Sovereign.
You mean to say you want to marry a horse? You must be plumb loco.
Well, gang, if we're making a picture, right here's for somebody to holler action. Let's go! We've got to get out of here.
No, wait.
Say, Roy, this is just like one of your movies.
Yeah, Roy, but your pictures always finish as music.
No time doesn't wait, still perhaps before it is too late. She may find what she's dreaming of.
Roy Rogers, day 11. You look great. You always look terrific. We'll be right back. We're going to pause for station identification. You always look... Welcome back to the show. Later in this half hour, ladies and gentlemen, some acting tips from Larry Melman, also Detective Virginia Snyder. And right now, I'm going to tell you about tomorrow night. Robin Williams will be here, and also Peter Tosh. Roy Rogers is here. Boy, looking at those film clips of you in action, you looked great. Your stuff looked good. Your horse looked good. Dale looked good. I mean, it was very attractive presentation you
Well,
had.
you know, I was just talking to you about 20 of the pictures we've picked out, and Dale and I are going to do a live opening as of now and talk about them when the year they were made, and they're going to run them on the Disney thing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
These films are also still being played on television.
Yeah,
around
a lot of people have their home movies with the cassettes too.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Trigger. How did you get him? And he also
was
a special
without
horse,
a doubt
wasn't
the
he?
greatest horse that ever came along. I got him when I made my first picture. He was 4 years old, and before that, just the fall preceding that, the first time he was ever in a picture was Olivia de Havilland rode him in Sherwood Forest in that picture she made with Errol Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my first picture with him in January 1938, and we made around 90 of our features and 101 of the half-hour TV shows plus appearances. And he was like an iron horse, and he's just a...
Smart also.
Well,
wasn't
if
he,
there's
as
a
horses
place,
go?
if there's a heaven for horses, that's where Trigger is. He was something else.
But he could do things that...
he could do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just... he was sharp, and you show him a few times, and he'd just do it.
Yeah.
It's on cue, you know. A horse has two sets of brains, one for each eye, and you...
Really?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that or realize that, but you've probably heard the saying, never mount a horse from the right side. That's because you saddle him and do everything from the left side, and most people do. And if you go on the other side, you're a stranger. And I could prove it by a Trigger. I could work on the left side where you always mount the horse from the left side, and I'd give him the cues to go through the things, and he'd go through everything. I'd go on the other side and give him the same cues, and he'd just stand there as if I wasn't there.
So the right side of him had never really met you.
That's right.
No, but
No, that you can balance them going up the same way you turn a horse to the left several times and never turn him to the right. You can't get him to turn to the right. You have to train him to do that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Now you wanted to mention you're in town for.
Yeah, this is a big occasion.
In addition to being a world famous motion picture singing cowboy, you're a restaurateur.
Well, I don't know about restaurateur or not, but I'm Roy Rogers. It has something to do with a lot of restaurants. We have about 500 of them now, but the reason I'm in New York
500 restaurants?
Yeah, and I like to go out and meet the people. We have a little get together, and I talk and answer questions, and it's like old home week because I feel like I've grown up with practically everybody that's alive today. So we have a lot of fun and answering questions.
Yeah.
So we're opening one on Times Square tomorrow, 11 o'clock, and We're going to have a lot of fun.
Now, will you actually be there serving
Oh,
in this
yeah,
visit?
I just came from one. I was one this morning.
Now, what kind of food is this? Is this Italian
It's
or
good food.
Chinese or?
We have hamburgers, cheeseburgers, Roy Rogers, double R bar burgers. We have chicken. We have a salad bar. We have a lot of food.
Okay.
And it's good.
All right. So this was one of 500.
Yeah, I'm with the Marriott Corporation, and we've been together for 15 years, and we started off with 22 little restaurants, and now we got...
Not
Really
bad.
climbing.
Not bad for a cowboy.
I can't
ladies and
boil
gentlemen.
water. I can't boil water myself, but I can eat those hamburgers.
Roy, I understand, and this is a treat. You are now going to sing for us, correct?
Yeah. Right here?
I hope so. Right here.
Thank you. This is a little song that some of you may remember. We used it as our theme song for many, many years. Dale wrote it, and it goes like this. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Thank you very much. Roy Rogers, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Roy. We'll be right back with some acting tips. Thank you, Roy.